We got ourselves the goof troop here in full effect. Why? Because it's gonna be how many days did the draft? I don't even know. Thursday's that draft. Oh, that quintessential giant debacle that we all love so well. I'll be there. I'll be there in person. I'll not at the draft. I'll be at the giant draft party at the MetLife. I miss the Meadowlands, but I'll be there at the MetLife for the draft party, wondering what the Giants are going to do. Are they going to redraft another position in Abdul Carter with Kayvon Thibodeau? Are they going to redraft another position and a position they've augmented in free agency with Travis Hunter? Or are they going to take Shedeur Sanders if he's available? Rumors and speculations coming out of MetLife from other media pundits is the fact that some people are sold on Mr. Sanders, some people aren't. That there is a vacuum between Joe Schoen and Brian Dable. That there is not a clear level of concise communication between the two, which have been going on since day one. They're basically siloed away from each other in certain directions. And I mean, I don't know if it's true. I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm just telling you what is being said, in and around the building. But when you sit there and you're saying to yourself, we're going to silo ourselves. We're not going to be on the same page in reference to the rest of the organization. You got to take a pause. You got to take it with a grain of salt, and you got to say to yourself, is this truly what the Giants are doing? Is this truly the direction that they are going to be headed in? I don't know. I honestly can't tell you. The Giants, and we've said this before, and I've said this a couple times. The Giants sitting at 3 are not in the best position in the world. And we did a whole video about this, and people are always like, well, Tim, what the hell are you talking about? That this isn't the best position of the Giants in the world because they're sitting there at 3. Well, sometimes when you sit there at 3 and you take a look at the situation that you have in front of you, you have to kind of think to yourself, are they going to get a truly impact player at 3 who is going to address the needs, improve the team, and make it better from the first moment? And that's why this pick is a quandary. Because really, depending on what's done ahead of you, you may be forced into a situation to redraft a position that you drafted 3 years ago with the likes of Kayvon Thibodeau. Or are you going to have to redraft a position that you drafted 2 years ago with Deontay Banks? You can't keep redrafting positions every few years, unless it's the quarterback. Because then all you're doing is wasting picks. All you're doing is wasting your talent. So if you continuously say to yourself, well, you know what we need to do? We just need to redraft these guys. Okay. How is that making the franchise better over the last 4 years, continuously redrafting the same positions? How does it make it better? It doesn't. You could sit there and say, you know what, we need to talk about Abdul Carter. We need to get all these things in here because he's going to be that quintessential pass rusher. We're gonna put him in that NASCAR position. NASCAR position worked because not only did you have 3 to 4 defensive ends that could rush the passer, they could also play the run. They understood, even when you had the likes of Justin Tuck, O.C. Umenyiora, Michael Strahan, Matthias Kiwanuka, Chris Canty. You had guys that understood their assignments, did not over pursue JPP, did not over pursue, and understood that, you know what, it's just as important to play the run as it is to rush the passer. So if you're going to go Abdul Carter at 3, you're basically saying that we think he's going to be an impact player, which is fine. If the Giants think Abdul Carter is going to be an impact player, that's fine. But in this scheme, with Shane Bowen, with the assets you have in front of you, with the you also just signed a free agent from Dallas. Is he going to be is he going to be a off the ball stand up linebacker? And I keep telling people this because, like, well, he played in college. He played it in college, yeah, but he didn't play great in college. 2 years ago, no one. 3 years ago, nobody was talking about Abdul Carter. No, you talked about the other two gentlemen that went in the draft last year from the defensive line. You talked about Parsons, but nobody was really talking about Abdul Carter. He moved into a position of need because Penn State lost a defensive end in the first round and lost another defensive end, I believe, in the third round last year. And he filled in a position of need. He used his speed to get around slower offensive linemen. And that's not going to work in the NFL. It may work for a few weeks, but then teams are just going to redirect you to the outside like they do with Kayvon Thibodeau. And if you're not smart enough to cut it back into the inside, you're just going to be taken out of the play. You're not only going to be taken out of the play vis-a-vis the pass rush, you're going to be taken out of the play vis-a-vis the run game, which is why for 4 years now, every team in this league has understood you want to run on the Giants, just run off tackle. Because neither Kayvon Thibodeau or Brian Burns can play the run well. They don't play, they don't even play it average. I say they played a little below average. So if you're taking Abdul Carter at 3, you're going to be telling me that he is going to be to me, he's going to be a stand-up linebacker. And the idiocy, greetings, Eric. The idiocy that I see at times on Giant Twitter, it just boggles the mind.
Stupid Giant Twitter posts.
Oh, I saw a couple posts over the weekend that Abdul Carter is the next Lawrence Taylor. There'll never be another Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor redefined the position of linebacker. Lawrence Taylor is probably not the best defensive player ever. He might be the best player ever in the NFL, in NFL history. He revolutionized the position. He made teams game plan for a singular player. Before Lawrence Taylor, no one was this much of a destructive force from the outside linebacker position going after the quarterback. They tried initially blocking him with a back, didn't work. They tried blocking him with a tight end, didn't work. They tried then blocking him with a tight end and a running back, didn't work. Then they tried blocking him with a tackle, didn't work. Then they tried blocking him with a tackle and a tight end, didn't work. He revolutionized the way outside linebackers plays, not even just vis-a-vis the sacks, but just his ability to hawk down ball carriers. Abdul Carter is not Lawrence Taylor, not even close. Not even the same stratosphere. So for people, you know what I was thinking? We've already unretired number 1. Let's unretire 56. Give it to Carter. Let's unretire 11. Give it to Carter. Because that's just what the Giants do. So I hope by the grace of God that Abdul Carter goes to Cleveland. Because I think Abdul Carter is going to be a guy who's going to play maybe, and I love it, we're going to build packages for him. We're building packages. So you're going to take a guy 3 that plays 30, 40% of the snaps? At least if you take Travis Hunter, in some regards, it makes sense. Corner is probably going to be his best position in the NFL. But you spent 54-36 guarantee on Paulson Adebo. 2 years ago, you took Banks. So you're going to be redrafting for Banks. Last year, you took Drew Phillips. You also took Cordell Flott. So you're going to redraft the position again. And then I love it because Abdul Carter's like, well, don't draft me if you're not going to play on both sides. I'm not going to allow me to play on both sides of the ball. Okay. So you're playing Philadelphia. You're trying to cover A.J. Brown. Or you're trying to stop Saquon Barkley. And you get your ass run over. Then you're going to trot your ass back onto the other side of the ball and have either Mitchell or DeJean covering you and wrecking your ass because you're kind of slight of build. You kind of built like Devontae Smith when the likes of Champ Bailey and Charles Woodson didn't do what you want to do. That's what I'm saying. The Giants at 3, it makes all the sense in the world to trade back. If you truly are a Giant fan and you want to improve this team, you trade back First of all, you fire Dable and Shane because this is going to be another. This is going to be another shit show. You trade back. You just get rid of those guys. You trade back. You trade back, pick up additional assets. I've said this before. If I'm doing it, I'm trading back and I'm getting Tyler Warren. And again, I know. First of all, I hate Penn State linebackers. I hate Penn State tackles. I hate Penn State linebackers too. But I hate Penn State tight ends. I do. I really do. I really do. But this guy looks like he's something special. We've talked about it before. You're going to open up the field for Malik Neighbors. You're at times that safety is going to have to shift over and cover the center field, which hopes more than likely you're going to have one-on-one coverage with Malik. You're going to open up the middle of the field of the running game. And then with this additional assets, you draft a legitimate running back. And I'm not saying that Tyrone Tracy's not a legitimate running back. I don't know what he is yet because I've only saw one season, and what we saw at times was good, but we also saw at times was a lot of 1, 2, 3 yard carries. You want a true downhill runner. You want a guy that fits in the gap power scheme. You want a guy that has the ability to finish with power. And to me, like I said, I'm looking at someone like Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, a big bruising back that's going to run downhill. And you can combine him with the likes of Tracy. You could probably get him higher up in the second round. And so if you do that, if you pick up your tight end, you pick up the quintessential power running back. You could also go with something, if you want. I don't think Hampton. I think Hampton may go in the first round still, lower half of the first round. You want to trade back in the first round and get someone like Hampton. I'm good with that as well. But I like the likes of Caleb Johnson, downhill runner, fits him in with Tyler Warren. You turn around and then you have an opportunity to have a guy that is a valuable asset in reference to Warren as being that not only a threat in the middle of the field, which we have not seen the Giants had in years at tight end, but he also gives you a safety valve. And then trading backs allows you to get someone like I said, to me, Caleb Johnson is he's not as flashy as some of these other guys. His speed isn't, his speed. He first of all, he's not a Wayne Gallman. I think he still ran a 4.57. He's not a Wayne Gallman who is going to get caught from behind. He is a guy that is the prototypical downhill runner who explodes at point of contact, had 1,537 yards, which was a single season school record last year, and a total of 23 touchdowns. 21 of them came at the run. He reminds me, like I said, he's not fully Brandon Jacobs, but he reminds me, if you want a comparison to someone in the modern era, he reminds me of Brandon Jacobs. And he is a guy that, if you look at him physically, he's an athlete. He's a physical specimen. He is a guy that is a downhill runner that you can combine with Tyrone Tracy. You then have Tyler Warren sitting there in the middle of the field, opening up the outside for the likes of Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton, who you gave $36 million to. That's what you do. You don't sit there in 3 and take a guy that, if you take a look at your roster from a football perspective, I love this song. OGR says, "Oh my God, Tim, you hurt my feelings." Hey, listen, there's certain players I would never take. Players I do not take from Penn State: quarterbacks, linebackers, and tight ends. The only player you take out of Penn State is a running back. That's the only player you take. The only player you take out of Penn State is a running back. That's it. But you rebuild your offense in a way. You take a look at Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is not the Russell Wilson from 7 years ago. He's not. You have to look at Russell Wilson that went 2-6 in his last 8 games in a playoff team in Pittsburgh. You have to look at what he does well. He's not going to be that guy. Go back to even the Carter Coughlin game, first year Joe Judge, the name we shall not speak. He's not even that guy. And Carter Coughlin contained him almost by himself at times. Russell Wilson, that is. He is a guy that you're going to have to give more time in the pot. Yeah. Kerry Collins was okay, but I could also talk to you about some other people, like starting with Todd Blackledge. But he is a guy that that if you just take a look from a philosophy, it's just gonna the Giants won't do it because it just makes sense. Because, like I said, with Russell Wilson, what you need to do is you need to build more of a short, not West Coast style, but a short, precise passing game. So you're not going to keep him in the pocket as long because he's not the same pocket passer that he was, which is really weird. It's really weird that you brought in Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson because both of them have very distinctive styles. Usually, when you build an offense, your backup quarterback fits the mold of your first string quarterback because this way you don't need to change your offensive game planning if the first stringer goes down. You don't bring in a scrambler, then have the guy behind him be a pocket passer. And that's kind of what the Giants did. My philosophy has always still been this. I still think the Giants should go Shedeur Sanders if he's there at 3, and then you cut either Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston in camp. And then you have one of them start the season. You have Shedeur back him up. You have Tommy DeVito on the backup squad, on the practice squad. Call it a day. Because that makes sense. It makes sense to pick a guy that is going to be a massive part of your future. And we've said this. I mean, we've said this 100 times. Well,
people say I'm a genius, but how can you really screw up 5 and 7?
Well, technically, you did. Joe Schoen. We've said this before. Has almost screwed up his entire draft, first draft. Has almost screwed up his entire. How are you so bad as general manager that you almost screw up your entire first draft and you still get back from a 4th? Now, we've said it before. He had, 13 picks in that first draft? Beaver's gone. McKeithen gone. Davidson, a backup to a backup. McFadden, an okay player, never met a tackle, he didn't miss. Dane Belton was the trailer on 5 of the last 6 touchdown passes against the Giants last year. Bellinger's garbage. Flott's garbage. Azuda's garbage. Wan'Dale Robinson is 2 yards in a cloud of dust. Wan'Dale Robinson has 176 receptions, only 1,400 yards receiving. Evan Neal bust, Kayvon Thibodeau bust. And then you take a look at his draft class after that, it ain't much better. Owens gone, Riley garbage, Hawkins garbage, Gray garbage, Jalen Hyde, who I love, garbage. JMS undersized center who led the league in holding penalties his first season for centers, and then last year he gave up the most amount of sacks by starting center in the league. And Dante Banks, you're telling me Travis Hunter may be better. So what did we do 2 years ago with Banks? So if you take a look at those classes, he potentially screwed up all of his classes, his draft class. Joe Schoen. So how you still have a job? I don't fucking know. But have a philosophy in this draft of improving the team exponentially. That should be. Joe Schoen said,
I'm going to come in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build through the draft, build those foundational pieces, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to augment through free agency.
Didn't do that, did you, Joe? You made stupid trades. You've made bad draft picks, and now we're supposed to trust you to select 3 overall. The philosophy of this just doesn't make sense. And like I said, the way the draft is shaking out, if you just take a look at the way the draft shakes out right now, it's like I said, at 3 it's just not conducive for the Giants. And I don't know. Like I said, you could be excited. You could get excited about getting the likes of Travis Hunter. I could literally see Travis Hunter. I could see Travis Hunter being an exciting pick. But I can't see Abdul Carter being. If you have Abdul Carter and Shedeur Sanders sitting there, and you go Abdul Carter, you're telling me Kayvon Thibodeau is gone. And like I said, he doesn't even quite fit the role that Azeez Ojulari had. Carter doesn't fit that role either. And like I said before, take a look at his first 2 seasons as an off-the-ball linebacker at Penn State. He didn't even have in 2 years the same amount of tackles that Parsons had in 1. Like I said, it doesn't make sense. So Sanders is sitting there. Sanders, to me, if he's sitting there, is not getting past 6 at the Raiders. I don't care what they gave with Geno Smith. The Raiders have an understanding, so does Pete Carroll. He needs to find his full-time quarterback, and he knows Geno Smith's a good stopgap for a couple of years. But you have to look at the way this falls out. If you go with Abdul Carter, you telling me you made a mistake on not only Evan Neal, but you also made a mistake on Kayvon Thibodeau. And then if you to sit here and rub salt in the wound, which you have to pick up soon or decline it soon, are you going to pick up the 50-year option on Kayvon Thibodeau at $16.1 million? So you're going to tell me if you pick up that 50-year option, you're going to have Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns. So in year 2026, you are going to have almost 40 plus million tied up into these guys and another 20 tied up into Dexter. You'll have $60 million tied up into your defensive line. It doesn't make football. Taking Abdul Carter does not make football sense. Doesn't make football sense for this team, for this philosophy, for this defensive. If you had Wink, or if you would have waited a week and got Steve Wilks, it would make sense. It doesn't make sense. Travis Hunter, while it doesn't make sense, gives you a piece. He's not going to be an Isaiah Simmons, but it gives you a piece that you can play with on both sides of the ball. Maybe you give him 20 plays on defense and 10 on offense. But again, you're sitting there saying, I'm not saying he's a gadget player, but Travis Hunter is never going to fully fulfill his NFL promise until he picks a position and makes that his trade. Yes, that's very true. OJ says, as a freshman, Parsons was an off-the-ball linebacker, led the team with tackles 83. He only had one start. Parsons had 2 starts, and I think he had 2 seasons. I think he had 100 tackles his first 2 years as an off-the-ball linebacker. Nobody was talking about Parsons 2 years ago. Not Parsons, excuse me. Nobody was talking about Abdul Carter 2 years ago. Nobody. He wasn't even a glint in the eye of Giant fans 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now he's going to be the savior. Well, that's why we drafted Kayvon Thibodeau. Like I said, let's just give him Phil Simms' number. Let's just call it a day. Let's just unretire every fucking number because that's what kind of morons we are. Strider, let's get to the Cheddar. Strider, bad news on the draft. Got to move Friday due to the senior night that I may not be able to make it. I will try to make it. Well, I hope you can make it, Strider. Let's see here. What's up, Matthew? What's up, Tim? We'll be family. I'm so hyped, but the anxiety is driving me crazy. I think that's the only thing. That's the anxiety. I'm trying not to get anxiety about this. Because we all know the Giants are going to do something stupid. I mean, it's a given. It's the Giant way. You want to be a Giant fan for the last 13 years. You have to prepare for stupidity. You know they're going to go Mason Graham. you know it's going to be.
With the 3rd overall pick, the New York Giants select defensive tackle Mason Graham.
You know it's going to happen. You know they're going to take a lot. You know they're going to do something stupid. Because it's just the Giant way. Shedeur at 3, maybe. I honestly prefer McCord a little later. This Shedeur Sanders hate is kind of mind-boggling. When Brady Quinn had all the hate when he came to his draft, it was understandable because he also made some racist comments or homophobic comments before the draft. I don't remember which one it was. And to me, Brady Quinn, and I remember that draft. To me, Brady Quinn was not that quintessential pro quarterback. He wasn't. He wasn't that guy that just showed so much promise that you were just like, Brady Quinn's gonna just be unstoppable. Shedeur Sanders, like I said, since high school, has showed him progression every year. He turned around Jackson State. He turned around Colorado. He's gotten better every year. Like I said, the morons will all point out the unintelligent fan will always point out the 50-plus sacks. Well, the 50-plus sacks wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago. He had 42 sacks last year, threw the ball 100 times more, less sacks, and almost 1,000 plus more yards. He's gotten better. He's turned around every franchise. And if you're looking for a guy that's going to have that short, sweet, concise, accurate passing game between 15 to 35 yards, the kid is fucking surgical and has been since Jackson State. People say he plays hero ball. Well, yeah. When you have a shit offensive line and you have Travis Hunter going downfield, you have to stay in the pocket. And that's something we haven't seen with a quarterback in 6 years. A quarterback that is willing to stay in the pocket and get the bejesus kicked out of him. And that's what he does. Now, let's see. Zack Attack says, New York Giants select Travis Hunter, the newest Philadelphia Eagle. What's that person for real? Mr. Chaz, Tyler Sloth. If we take Tyler at 3, I love it that the Giants had an extensive workout with Tyler. He's 25 years old, in college for 7 years, multiple. He's the perfect quintessential Giant pick. In for college for 7 years, multiple injuries. Sign him. I still think Abdul Carter is the best pick at 3. I don't see the best pick at 3. For the Giants, to me, Abdul Carter is not the best pick at 3. Here's the problem. This is where you're not taking a running back. You're not taking Ashton. Even though I really loved him at Boise State. Doesn't make sense to take Mason Graham. Doesn't make sense to continuously draft offensive tackles. And you know what's funny? If you really want to go defensive end, if you really want to get a prospect to me that makes more sense for the Giants at defensive end, you have to take a look at the likes of because this guy played linebacker. Even you got to take a look at Walker at Georgia. 6'1", 243 pounds. He would literally make more sense than Parsons. Not at 3. Not at 3. No, God knows, not at 3. But he would make more sense than Parsons. Would that be something the Giants would want to do? No, of course not. But like I said, that to me that makes a hell of a lot more sense. Because of the fact that he's going to give you more as a linebacker. He's going to give you still some more as a pass rusher. And he's going to fit more into your defense. And there's the thing. We keep talking about this. It's the defensive philosophy of the Giants. It's a defensive philosophy we need to take a look at. You want a guy that's more in the mold of a Parsons? It's Jalen Walker. He's more that linebacker edge rusher. He's more that Parsons mold than Abdul Carter is. But you can't take him at 3. But he makes more sense for the Giants. People say, Tim, you're crazy. Well, Massey with a big old super chat coming in there. Hey, Tim, which team is currently a better position than will be better for a young quarterback? The Giants or the Saints? Seems like Saints need a quarterback and may go Shedeur. If you mind the Giants trading 3 with the Saints, if you're the Giants and you are not taking Abdul Carter, if you're not taking Shedeur Sanders, if Shedeur Sanders is sitting there at 3 and you are the Giants and you are not taking him, you are hell bent against taking Shedeur Sanders, and you have a team that is willing to trade up like the Saints, and the Saints are picking 9th, I would make that trade. I would swap 3 and 9. You're going up from 3 to 9, so you're coming up to the sweet part of the draft. I want at least a swap of the first, a second rounder, maybe a 5th, and maybe another pick. I think the Saints feel they're more closer to making the playoffs than the Giants are. And then I can take Walker. Then I can go out and grab me. And I can go out and get Walker out of Georgia. A guy that actually fits more of the Parsons mold than Abdul Carter at 3. Everyone is just falling in love with Abdul Carter and the dip. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. But it doesn't make sense. Trade out. This is the thing. And I'm not going to again, paint with a broad stroke. Here's the thing with a certain segment of Giant fans. It's the name. It's the name I could plug into Madden 2006. 26 or 2025, whatever the fuck it is. That's the name I could plug in there and I could know it. But it doesn't make logical football sense. Considering you just gave $120 million to Brian Burns, if you pick up the $16.1 million option on Kayvon Thibodeau, and you just sign what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name. You just sign what's his name from the Cowboys. Doesn't make sense. But if you see this logical philosophy of building a franchise correctly and making the proper moves, then you don't like Sanders and he's there at 3, and you still want to get a true, not even really a true, but a more fitting linebacker / defensive end than Abdul Carter is, you trade Abdul Carter. To me, has bust written all over him. He truly does. And I kept saying that. Travis Hunter has bust too, but I think Travis Hunter's problem is I think he would be more of a bust with the Giants because of the fact that they don't let him pick positionally where he wants to play and allow him to focus on his trade or focus on his craft. It just doesn't make sense. But like I like Walker a lot. And like I said, I'm not bashing Abdul Carter. Hey, Abdul Carter could turn around, figure out he could we've talked about it before.
You say I have a plethora of piñatas?
He could all of a sudden get a plethora of pass rushing moves. But right now he's got the speed dip. He's got the speed. He does. All he does is comes off the ball, uses his speed, dips his shoulder, kind of moves his arm a little bit sometimes. Not even a swim move. Kind of moves his arm in, and we played the video, and he goes against slower tackles that aren't going to be in the NFL.
Do it and take a change.
That's all he does. Even OGR pointed some stuff out about it. And I loved OGR because he screwed up my video when I was making it. But that's what he does. And like I said, he could become a star in this league, and I could be 100% wrong. But he just doesn't fit the Giant philosophy. As much as people want to make him fit, he doesn't fit. Joe Rev, what's up? The Giants will trade up to number 1 and get Jackson Dart. Island in the house. What you on vacation? I'm in my island in the sun. Dan the man says, nope, I'm wrong. It's the pass defense. I don't remember what I was talking about. I don't remember what I was talking about that far back. New York State. It's a New York state of mind. Thursday can't get fast enough. The draft has gotten to be so. It has really gotten to be so annoying. It really has. I'm going to be there. We're going to be professionals this year. I have wireless lapel mics. We're going to be inside the Giant locker room again, calling the draft, calling the Giant pick. Big Dom all the way from the U. This is why we're such an international phenomenon, this show. Dom from the UK is running the draft. I'll be in New York / Jersey. And then we'll have people from all over the world calling in. It should be interesting. Yeah, let's see here. He'll be older than Daniel Jones. Tyler, that is your 100% right. Yeah, what does Evan say? Yeah, damn the man. Rush the year was fine. Bad against the pass. Rush was not fine this year. We got eaten alive on the tackles. But don't worry, we're going to go out and get a undersized defensive end who did not play off the ball. Abdul Carter did not play off the ball linebacker well enough for Penn State that they moved him to defensive end. Yeah, it's going to make sense. Dan says, yep, it's not high enough on my radar right now. Todd says, Sanders at least gives us a reason to hope over the years. It beats the hell out of what's tanking for the next few years, hoping to find another quarterback. You got to take a fucking swing, Joe. Swing, Joe.
Hey, bada, swing, bada.
You got to swing. And don't swing in the 7th round. You got to take a big fucking swing. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, safe picks. Safe picks in the regard. Here's the way I should rephrase it. Safe picks in regards to the fact that you won't get chastised by most of the New York media or a segment of the fan base. I've said this before. No matter what the Giants do draft night, 50% of the fan base is going to hate it. That's just this team. Now, if you take a look at it from the logical football fan perspective, OG, are you working today? Because I was going to have you on so you could talk about Abdul Carter and other Penn State linebackers. What's his name? Shane Colin? Colin? I can't remember Shane. Shane, who went over to the Buffalo, Bills. But it just, if you are a true football fan, and you look at this from a true football fan perspective, you trade out of 3. You gain assets. You go after players that literally make sense. And like I said, Walker to me makes sense. If you don't go get Tyler Warren, you go up and get someone like you take Walker. To me, like I said, the obvious choice is you get Tyler Warren and then you bring in a running back in the second round, you trade back up to the first round. Problem is also the common logic and common sense last year was when you have a quarterback draft that's potentially could be 2004 or 1983, you take Malik Neighbors. Because, again, it's the safe, sexy pick that's not going to get you in trouble. Because Joe Schoen has no balls. I keep seeing the scene from Major League 2 when they got the outfielder from Japan, and he's trying to get Serrano mad, and he's telling him you have no marbles. That's what Joe Schoen has. He has no marbles. Take a swing, Joe. Don't take a swing at Jackson Dart because you're going to cry. You're going to get fired either way, but take a swing, Joe. Good morning, everyone, says Skyline. Johnny Rico says, I'm not a fan of our quarantine. I hate our defensive coordinator. I've said this before. I will give Shane Bowen credit that he changed his philosophy somewhat last year to fit what he had talent-wise. But here's the problem. He just then reverted to how bad he was in Tennessee. He was so bad that first season, that playoff season, that they went 11-5 and had the worst secondary in the league and got smoked in the first round, that he had to bring. Mike Vrabel had to bring in Jim Schwartz. The Schwartz be with you. You brought in Jim Schwartz for 2 years. Your defense improved, your secondary improved, but as soon as Jim Schwartz took that job in Cleveland, boy, that secondary fucking tanked again because he doesn't, outside of the safety position, Shane Bowen does not know how to cultivate a secondary because he plays this sissy bend not break defense, zone style defense. And you have you have 2 press cover corners and Banks and Adebo, and then you're going to bring in Hunter? Imagine if you're an old Raiders fan like back in 83 or 84 when you had Haynes and Hayes up on the line, press cover corners, man-to-man guys, and you said, you know what? I'm going to play zone. Logic runs. If Carter has one move, push him out to wide. Speed dip move is useless. Guys repeating the TV talking heads, not watching the game footage. That's what I keep saying. Watch the game footage. Watch. Don't just watch the highlights. You see the highlights, you're like, wow, this is fucking awesome. But then the problem is when you see the other plays, you're kind of like, okay, well, when you run 50 plays on defense and you show 2 from a game, you're not showing everything. OGR says, I laugh that he was watch Sanders fall, hop in front of the steals, grab in hindsight, I see it absurd, but Howie is smart and he sees value. That's the problem. Joe Schoen says, Davey said the best quarterback he ever was Ryan Leaf. I hope that's not right. I hope he didn't really say it about Ryan Leaf. Strider says, Tim, you're trade down for Tyler Warren. Tim, all in on your trade proposition for Tyler Warren. Like I said, it doesn't have to be Tyler Warren. Just like I said, if you want to build this team logically, and Giant fans don't like to build teams logically. We don't like to do that because we just like the big flashy names that don't pan out. If you build this team logically, like I said, the smartest thing to do is move out of 3, take either Warren or, like I said, or grab yourself Walker out of Georgia. Because Walker, to me, is more Parsons than Abdul Carter will ever be Parsons. And he's more Walker is more Parsons now. And he could literally help against the run on the off tackle. He can literally have the speed and the quickness to put him on the right or left side, outside, and control. Maintain your assignment. Control the edge. Borla G-Man says, the pick is Sanders at 3. I agree with you about Carter. To me, the pick is Sanders. Like I said, if Sanders is sitting there at 3, you draft Sanders. You bring him into camp. You basically have Winston and Wilson competing with Sanders. If Sanders is not ready, you either release Wilson or Winston, and you stash Tommy DeVito on what you stash away Tommy DeVito because no one's going to take him. No one's going to say, no, I really want this Tommy DeVito guy. Put him on the practice squad. Happy Easter. Any defensive player from Georgia usually is good. Skyline says, Tim, did you ever figure out what's wrong with Bo Callahan? I'll have to talk to Dom about this. I may watch Draft Day. I'm trying to put Baby Creed back on the wall. Baby Creed keeps falling off the wall. Dom and I have never seen the movie Draft Day. We always see clips, and we always quote the movie, but we always see clips. We've only seen clips. So I was talking to Dom about a year ago. I said, we have to watch Draft Day. We actually have to watch the movie. That move does make very easy to exploit. Greg said, draft grades are worthless. It's all a crapshoot. Bobby Wagner called a reach and borderline bust in the second round. Now he's headed to Canton. You're right. OGR says, I hope Carter succeeds because I generally like Nittany Lions' success in the NFL. If the Giants take Abdul Carter, I hope he succeeds. Giants take Travis Hunter, I hope he succeeds. I hope any player that the Giants. That's why I always get in trouble when a Giant player fails here and he goes someplace else, and I wish him well. Because you don't want to see anyone fail in their career. So I like I said, even even when Eli Apple left, I said I wish him well. Even DeAndre Baker left, little baby Nino Brown, I wished him well. Because this is still their livelihood. Pete Throw says, do you think teams actually calling Joe Schoen about the 3, or do you think he's lying as per? No, I think teams are calling. I don't think Joe Schoen's lying about getting calls about 3. No, I don't think that at all. Make sure you hit the like. There's 100+ people in the chat. Make sure you hit the like, or I will sing again. 30 likes. Let's get to 50. But I am curious what's going to happen. Like everyone else. Because, like I said, winning that useless game, and I was there against the Colts, was just as bad as when we lost out on Jaden Daniels. It's just as bad. It made you feel good walking out of the stadium for about 6 minutes.
That's what she said.
Davey, what is Davey said? New York Times just broke that Sanders added an X to his name. Now Sanders Giants expected to trade up. That's fucked up but funny. Evan says, I was talking about 2016, not last year's draft. I figured you were, Evan. Dark Simi says the Giants aren't going to take Sanders because Joe wants to say he'll never got to pick his quarterback. That's the thing. You know what's funny? Joe has had so many opportunities to pick a quarterback. He just doesn't do it. Because, like I said, he has no, according to the guy from Major League 2, he has no marbles. Huevos. Oh my God. I literally love that scene from Major League 2. I mean, I really do. I mean, I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember the guy's name the outfielder's name. Because of the fact that just reminds me of Joe Schoen. You have no marbles. Oh, I have to get that as a sound clip. Hold on, wait a minute, hold on. Let's see here. Let's see. I think we got it here. Can we play it? Hold on. Let's see. All right, hold on. We gotta get this. Hold on, right here. We got because this is in. Oh, we gotta skip that. Hold on. We're gonna go to that scene. Hold on. We have to. Here we go. Here we go. My favorite part. That's Joe Schoen. They should play that clip for Joe Schoen when he's in the draft room. You have no marbles. If they took a chance on Jones, they definitely could take a chance on. Here's the problem with taking a chance. They didn't. They took a wing and a prayer on Jones. Sanders, from everything you can say about him. Tanaka, thank you. Everything you can say about Sanders is this. He's progressed every year going back to Jackson State. He's gotten better every year. He's shown improvement. The hate for Sanders is real. It really is. Daniel Jones should never have been taken at 6. Daniel Jones should never even be taken in the 2nd round. Daniel Jones should have been lucky to have been drafted, but the Giants saw. I've said it before, I'm always going to repeat this story. I'm driving home 2 days before the draft, Daniel Jones draft, and the radio announcer goes,
and there's a surprise team that may take Daniel Jones in the top 10.
And I kept driving, saying to myself, please to the God, don't be the Giants. Don't be the Giants. Don't be the Giants. And then they go,
we'll be right back after this commercial.
And I had to get out of the car. Now, if you ever listen to NFL Network on the radio, on the Sirius radio or XM radio, whatever it's fucking called now, it's like 4 million commercials. So I couldn't wait to hear what the team was. But then I go inside and someone texts me, it's the Giants. Good morning, Mitchell. What's going on? Evan says, we could have Penix, Nix, McCarthy, but we had Jones instead. You could have had Penix, Brian Thomas Jr., or Ladd McConkey. Hell, you also could have had Keenan Coleman. We're living in the Sleepy Joe at the wheel. New York State of Mind says the crash out from fan draft night will be epic. I would have more. It's a good word. I would have more respect for Joe Schoen if he traded out of that pick. Even if Sanders is there and he traded out of that pick and picked up a tight end or a true linebacker and then got more assets to grab a downhill running back, I would have more respect for Joe Schoen. But I just don't. It reminds me of the read react defense after the 91 Super Bowl. I agree. Dennis says, I don't even care anymore. Shane is soft as scone. Dable is Sam Breakstone. Bowen is a flag league coach. Boy, that's fucked up. Pete Thrill says, I don't think we need a quarterback either, first or second pick. And there's too many offensive picks. They paid so much on the defensive side of the ball. Oft been neglected for so long. Neighbors the only premium pick at offense. Here's the thing with Neighbors. If you don't do something, if you don't get Neighbors a quarterback sooner than later, he's gonna end up in Washington. 3 years from now, Malik Neighbors is going to be playing with Jaden Daniels. And we are still going to be living with the ghost of Daniel Jones. As a Notre Dame fan, he didn't really do anything special against our third stringers. Can't imagine how we'd be against NFL starters. I'm not sure who we're talking about. Trade up, trade to 3, get a tight end, a wide receiver, Warren or McMillan. Like I said, take Milroe with the 2nd round. I love Jaden. I mean, like I said, I love Jalen Milroe now. Was not a big fan of his. I've said it before. I thought Carson Beck coming out was gonna come out and be something special, but then he kind of just threw up a stinker all season long. Now he's at the portal. But Milroe, to me, like I said, you go back to the combine. From his last game in college to the combine, you could tell he has worked on his mechanics. 100%. You could tell he's worked on his mechanics. And like I said, the out patterns or the out throws at the combine to me were so telling from him because of the fact that he wouldn't have made those throws so crisply like he did at the combine. Yes, and I understand it's not under duress. It's not this. But to me, the combine is better indication than your pro day, because you like I said, your pro day is just choreographed ballet. The combine, you literally have, they give you 5 minutes of instructions, not even. You have to wait your turn, and then you have to make your throws. James says, I feel like the two Asian guys in Major League Baseball who are painting. Who are these guys? I always loved James with that with Major League, because like I'm trying to find the Major League clip, because that's one of my
Ricky Vaughn, Willie Hayes. I never heard of most of them. Mitchell Friedman. Who are these fucking guys?
I still love the scene in Major League, James, when the guys are when the two Asian guys are painting the lines and they're still shitty. Let's see here. Jeff says, Tim, remember Purdy lasted the 7th round first year. Maybe with the Giants something good happened. Sure, I agree. Anything can happen. I can get hit by lightning walking outside in the next 20 minutes. Mr. Tyler says, give up, Tim. Slava 3 of the Giants is already destined. He is a tall, white, older quarterback in his pocket statues, is already married, and has a personality of Raisin Brand. Sold. It's so bad, says Dan. Draft day is a good advertisement for the NFL, but a mediocre movie overall. Okay. Mr. Bruce says, if Carter goes, then Milton. How would you feel, Tim, if they go Carter and Milton? It just doesn't fucking make sense. I will still say the same thing. It don't make fucking sense. You mean Milrow, not Milton, because Milton already went last year. New York State of Mind says, I don't think they're gonna go in and Hunter at all. Carter, not sure, but I think the future. I think Sanders can be your franchise quarterback. Quarterbacks are like anything else. They're hit and miss. There are so many quarterbacks that went high up in the draft that became nothing. There's so many quarterbacks that fell and became Pro Bowlers / Hall of Famers. You don't know. You truly do not know. And then some people will tell you, well, Abdul Carter is the safe pick. So was Mike Mamula. Hey, Eagle fans, so is Mike Mamula. He's the safe pick. No, there are the top 32 picks on the draft. There are no safe picks. What's up, Asmi? There are no safe picks, because you could get it right, you can get it wrong. You never know. Like I said, to me, they could take Abdul Carter. He can have 20 sacks. But philosophy-wise, if you're looking at this from not a Giant fan, but from an NFL perspective, it makes no fucking sense. It makes zero sense, Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter, all-world talent. I'm not upset you take him, but it makes zero sense in reference to the philosophy and the breakdown of your own roster. So then you're telling me maybe Banks is a failure? Then you're telling me Kayvon Thibodeau was a failure? Or are you telling me you gave $120 million to 8.5 sack guy? Davey says, do you wish Parcells well when he coached the Giants? Yes, I actually did. I also wished him well when he went to the Patriots. I also wished him well when he went to the Jets. I also wished him well when he went to Miami, but he was part of the staff that people that fired me in Miami. So our coaching staff needs to develop a Carter proper. Needs to develop proper. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Matthew says, I'm literally disowning this team if they draft Milrow at Dart, though. It's bad enough they're going to go through the last 10 to 12 years. You take Dart in the 3rd round. You don't take Dart in the 2nd round. You're the Giants. You take a running back. You need to figure out. To me, defense has enough players if you had the right scheme to be competent. Your offense is not competent. You still have a weak offensive line. You have 2 aging quarterbacks, and one of them is a failed 1st overall pick who only had 1. I still love Jameis Winston and the fact that Jameis Winston is like, I'm going to come in here and teach these young guys how to win. You've had 1 winning season as a starting quarterback in the NFL, and that was your 2nd year. And then Tampa thought so much of you that they got rid of you after 5 years, after that 7-9 season, after you lost that game to the Saints and cost them a playoff appearance, that Bruce Arians went out, got rid of you, and went and got Tom Brady, and then went on to win a Super Bowl. But he's going to teach these young guys how to win. Who's going to teach him? Who the fuck is going to teach Jameis Winston how to win? He doesn't know how to win. Charlie, what's up? I want Sanders. I feel like it's that if you're a guy, you take him. You don't wait. We've talked about it before. We've talked about it with Ernie Accorsi a million times. Ernie Accorsi, he tells the story as a rookie GM over in the Colts, how ownership made him, forced him to trade John Elway because John Elway said he was going to take the money and go play with Steinbrenner and the Yankees. So he said he never would have traded that pick, but ownership forced him to trade that pick. And then Ernie Accorsi came to the Giants, saw the opportunity to get who he perceived to be the franchise quarterback in Eli Manning, and he did what needed to be done. People thought he overpaid, and for 4 or 5 years, people thought, this is bad, but then you win 2 Super Bowls. Take the bat off the shoulder, Joe, and swing. Take it off the shoulder, Joe, and swing. Because we've said it before. We have said it again. We've said it a million times. And we're gonna keep going with Tanaka. Joe Schoen has no marbles. And we're literally just gonna leave it at that. Joe Schoen is scared of his own shadow. Evan says he shouldn't be a GM. I agree. EK Sports, hopefully the quarterback slides like they did in 2022, so you don't reach for quarterback at 34, 64. You know what's funny, ECK? I think this quarterback class, taking a quarterback at 34 is a reach. I think you're right. I think it's a reach. If Sanders and Ward are gone, any quarterback in this draft, in my mind, is a reach. If you take him at 34, it's a waste of a pick. So let's say you waste your pick of Abdul Carter, then you're going to waste your pick on a quarterback. We need to build this team right. You have to think about the movie Cinderella Man. When Braddock is in there, and his corner guy's telling him, you got to beat him from the inside out. You got to beat him from the inside out. We have to build this team from the inside. We have a cut and paste roster that doesn't make sense in regards to our defensive, offensive philosophy, in regards to our coaching staff and everything else. But you have to do something right. Walter says, if we're not going to draft a quarterback 3, then do you get a quarterback at all? Use the remaining picks to shore up the trenches. I think it doesn't make sense. If you don't take a quarterback 3, it doesn't make sense to me to take a quarterback in this draft. It doesn't. Which means we will be another year removed from getting a quarterback, like Forrest Gump will say, again. I went to the White House again. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It doesn't add to the philosophy of your team. Peter says, I was thinking about this today, Tim. You're right. Well, okay, we don't have to go to the next comment. Sanders doesn't go below the Raiders. Geno only on 2 years. They have to find a quarterback of the future. The closer to the draft, the BS more comes out. Not to be racist, but it's Tanaka. It is Tanaka. Well, that's his name. Why would that be racist? Frank says, hey, Tim, everyone. I'm just curious. Will Elway's just old school 90s breakdown session if he does the impossible and actually takes a young quarterback named Sanders? If the Giant, okay, I am going to make a proclamation right now. If the New York Football Giants take Shedeur Sanders at 3, I will literally go. Who's calling me? Stop calling me. I will literally go to the middle of that field and I will pop and lock and I will break dance in the middle of the fucking field. That is my promise to the Giant fans. I will sit there and I will go and I will start out with it's tree 2, rock A, rhyme 2, rock A, rhyme, it's right on time, it's tricky. It's tricky, huh? I met this little girlie. Her hair was kind of curly. Went to her house to bust her out. I had to leave her early. I'll break dance in the middle of the fucking field. That's how confident I am sure that Joe Schoen is going to do something stupid. Pedro says before Sanders was mocked up to 5, these people would say he slips to the mid late because they're out of their minds. Quarterbacks always be pushed up the draft no matter their talent. Look at Mitchell Trubisky. I never thought Mitchell Trubisky should win as high as he did, but he did. Matthew says, I'm all aboard. Sanders and McCord. If anyone else is, I'll go nuts. I like McCord. I think McCord fits what the Giants want to do for a quarterback philosophy. I think he should. Again, Jackson Dart, if you're looking at it from a philosophy in regards to the fact that who you have in Russell Wilson, then he would make sense as well. But I'm not taking Jackson Dart in the first 3 rounds. Sorry. Jackson Dart, to me, maybe would have gone in the 7th, if not an undrafted free agent, if he was in the draft last year. 19 touchdowns in 3 games. 10 in the last 8? And one of those games was against the mighty Furman, Northern Georgia. David says, if Schoen does take Carter at 3, do you think he will keep Daniels and Hurts from running the ball? No. Abdul Carter is not this run specimen. James, are you working today? I don't think James is working today. James, are you working today? Here's my invite. Copy the link. James, are you working? James is working, yes. Draft, baby, yeah.
Draft, baby, yeah.
I'm going to put the link in the chat, James, to see if you're working. Because we also need to talk about the Knicks. 40-point explosion in that 4th quarter. Down by 8. Then all of a sudden, up by 13. Yeah, they didn't look good. Yeah. But Tobias Harris is not covering the cat. Cunningham looked to me like he had that jitters, and those jitters don't go away, especially when it's crunch time. 40 in the 4th. 20-point, at one point in time, a 20-point run. Go within like a 2-minute span, you go from being down 8 to up 13. Greg says, I read half the Giant organization wants Sanders, what the other. That's what I'm saying. They're saying that the Giants are in a silo. That there's 2 distinctive camps. There's the Joe Schoen camp and there's the Brian Daboll camp, and they're siloed. They don't talk. And you can kind of see that. Dan says 2019 draft night was between 2 of my other teams winning a championship. I forgot how sad it was for me. Looking back, yeah, the shit sucked. Logic's Finance says 2 best offensive Giants of the last 10 years are both gone. OBJ traded. Saquon walked away. Let that sink in. Yeah, in 4 years and 3 years from now, Neighbors is going to be in Washington. I have loved the respect Joe Schoen if he quits and lets Brandon Brown draft Sanders. If we pick Tyler at all or Dart and Millen at 34, I'm going to lose it. ECK, I wish. James, you're working today? You suck. Fucking hate you. No, I don't hate you. Yeah, James sucks. Yeah, I'll lose it too. James also said, just remember I talked Miller up months before, long before ESPN or any Giant channel, right here on this channel. You sure did. Pedro said, also, this Alabama team has played on really wasn't that good on offensive side of the ball. Miller scares me at first, but becoming more and more the pick. Let's watch the quarterback whisper. Brian Daboll work. This is the year of Daniel Jones. Brian Daboll took the job because he said he could make Daniel Jones a quarterback. Josh Allen won an MVP after Brian Daboll left. If you take a look at the other quarterbacks, not in college, in the pros that Brian Daboll worked with, they all suck. I just want to whisper, if you build it, they will come. If you draft him, I'm not going to be as pissed off as I thought I'd be. Terry, what's up, Asming? ECK praying that the Browns take. I'm praying the Browns take Carter as well. Greg says I watched almost every Buffalo game last year, and Joe at Boulder Buffaloes, and Joe was at Boulder, and nearly every week Sanders will be a giant. I'm gonna start with the pop and lock. I'm a pop and lock fool, and then I'm gonna hit the ground, and I'm gonna do a little break into electric boogaloo. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a little shabadoo shrimp. I'm gonna do a little turbo and ozone, and I'm gonna do it right in the 50. I'm going to electric boogaloo it. Like I said, I'm gonna do a shabadoo shrimp. Anyone that knows the movie's breaking will know turbo and ozone. Oh shoot, I'm gonna do a little shabadoo. It's bugaloo shrimp. I keep forgetting. I'm gonna do a little bugaloo shrimp, little turbo, little ozone, right in the middle of the field. If the New York Giants take Shedeur Sanders. Quarterbacks don't make the team makes the quarterback. Hunter will more than likely be the reason why they're at Colorado so much. Sanders is a great smoke screen. I don't disagree with that, actually. Logic's Finance says, Greg, I saw Joe. I don't know. That's to Greg. James Williams says, quarterbacks are like women. You have to pick and date some to find the one that works out. You're not wrong. B. Will says, I love how everyone is a can't miss prospect except for Shedeur Sanders. I love that too. You know what? I never really thought about that. Everyone right now with the Giant Nation is going to be a Golden Jacket Hall of Fame player, except for Shedeur Sanders. He's going to be an unmitigated bust. Except all he does is succeed everywhere he goes. That fucking asshole. Greg says, if Joe Schoen lets the media sway his judgment of Shedeur, I honestly don't know what to say. He needs to trust his own evaluation. No, first of all, I'm going to stop you there, Greg. Joe Schoen should not trust any evaluation of his own. Captain, Mr. Roberts says, the fact that Sherman said he sees Daniel Jones and Shedeur Sanders, so many people on Sanders, but Sanders, some respect, he has better talent. Yeah, Shedeur Sanders is a better talent than Daniel Jones ever was. Indianapolis is going to find out rapidly how bad Daniel Jones is. I love the one video the guy did. I've talked about it before. He does all these funny just funny NFL videos. And he has a video where it's Shedeur Sanders. I mean, not Shedeur Sanders, where Anthony Richardson meets Daniel Jones. And the first part of the video is, they're like the ownership goes, we'd like you to meet Daniel Jones. And Anthony Richardson goes, what's a Daniel Jones? And then literally at the end of the video, the ownership goes to Anthony Richardson. Listen, we literally went out and got you the worst starting quarterback in the NFL to beat out. Todd says, the fans that want Carter think Tibbs is a great player. No, I love it. The fans that want Carter want to trade Kayvon Thibodeau. And I love it because he's such a good talent, Kayvon Thibodeau. They want like a third rounder for him. You took him 5th overall. You want a third rounder for him. He'll be 2 seasons removed from, double-digit sacks. But we want to redraft his position on another guy who can't play the run and is an undersized defensive end, and you're going to trade the 5th overall pick from 4 years ago. What could possibly go wrong? What's up, Jeff? Timmy, it's been 2 years before it gets better with the Giants. I agree. ECK says, I still think wide receivers should be addressed. Wan'Dale exercise the option isn't anything special. 103 at 34 would be fantastic. I still think we have to address the wide receiver position. I don't think you're 100% right. Mr. Bruce says, okay, there's an important question, Tim. Would you draft Malik Neighbors in fantasy football this year with the upside of the new quarterback? It depends. Is it Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and Travis Hunter? It's going to see where it falls, because if you take Travis Hunter and you put him on the offensive side of the ball instead of the defense for the majority of the time, is it going to be 1A, 1B? Are you then going to take, there's only so many times you can throw the ball in the game. So if you throw the ball 30 times in a game and you target, normally would target, Neighbors 14 times, does that targets go down to 8 because now you have to target Sanders? It's kind of it's you got to kind of wait and see how it plays out. But Matthew says this is how I feel about McCord, but McCord torches Ward. Should have steamrolled him, like not called the touchdown back. Would have had over 400. Oh, I like I said, I think the Miami game, like I said, Big Don, he's probably working. McCord to me, like I said, solidified himself in that Miami game. He really did. And he kind of solidified himself as it wasn't just one game, it's the way he played the entire season. I think he had I think I had him as the second best combined of the combine. I think I had the second best quarterback performance, or I think I had number 1. I have no problem taking McCord later in the draft because I do think that he could be a value pick. Mr. Alvarez says, if the Giants go Sanders, if I was a GM, I would trade back 3, take best player available, trade up to 31, grab Milroe if he's there. Said it before, if I'm Joe Schoen, if I am literally Joe Schoen, because if I was Joe Schoen, this wouldn't even be an issue because we all know. We all know Joe Schoen doesn't have those. But if I'm Joe Schoen, I trade out of 3. I trade to the Saints. I pick up Walker from Georgia, move back up either into the latter half of the first round, and take a running back. Build your team the right way. Like I said, if you take a look at this Giant roster, it's a fucking cut and paste roster. We have all these parts that just kind of don't fit together. And if you take a look at the coaching staff, doesn't make they don't fit the coaching style. Davey says, you see this New York Knicks game? Oh, I was telling you this. Listen, I was sweating the Knicks game. I was texting James. I was sweating a little bit there. And then I think in the fourth quarter, it was in the fourth quarter. I think the Pistons scored the first 3 points. And I was like, oh, geez, we're fucked. But then you go from 8 down, up 13, 20-point run. The Pistons are a young team. You can't put Tobias Harris on Cat. You can't. That is beyond the mismatch. And Brunson, to me, going back last year, Brunson's got a little bit, even going back to his games in Dallas against Donovan Mitchell when they were each, scoring points on each other left and right. He's got a little playoff moxie. Brunson does. Brunson is like a hangnail. It bothers the shit out of you, but then when you finally rip it off and dig it out, you're like, well, that feels better. That's what he is. Because he bothers the shit out of you for like 3 quarters and then he explodes in the fourth. Syracuse beat UNM 50-20 in comeback fashion. Oh, no, I agree. We've talked about that. Taylor Todd says, I take Sanders. If he sucks, hell, we'll have us in the position to take St. Archie in 2 years. Why not? Damian Jackson says, the promise is the reason why I know you aren't taking Sanders. Oh, yeah. I tell you, man. If the Giants take Shedeur Sanders, because I know they won't, I will literally, and Big L will be there, I will literally electric boogaloo, break in 2, right in the middle of the field. Do a little turbo, do a little ozone, sit there, a little bugaloo shrimp, little shabadoo. I will. Got to draft Sanders. We need a franchise quarterback. James Williams says, I will do the Irish jig on a stream with Dom if we take Sanders.
Draft, baby. Yeah.
Logic's Finest says, I've said this since 2024. The Giants are not drafting their quarterback. You have. Asby says, a few more days and we'll know for sure which direction the Giants are heading. I'm a little scared. Not going to lie. Mets are playing terrific as well. They should rip up Pete's contract and make him a new one. No, don't touch it. We're the Mets. Don't touch anything. If there is a used jock in the corner of the locker room that's been there for weeks, don't touch it. Baseball is one of the most superstitious games out there. You don't change anything with the Mets. Yeah, Juan's gotta. It was funny. James and I were ragging on Lindor a couple days ago, and then all of a sudden, he hits the walk-off homer like the next day. So I go to James. I said, "We got to start ragging on Juan now because we need Juan to produce." That's how superstitious baseball is. Some people are like, "Oh, ransom team will take a quarterback because he's a mid quarterback on 2-year deal," but fans don't want Sanders, even though the Giants got Russ and Jameis on a 1-year deal, respectively. No, I know. On my break for 10 minutes. Oh, well, good. So welcome back, Strider. Mets have almost none more. Jets have more alternate jerseys than Giants will ever wins last year. I have my black Mets alternate jersey over there on the floor somewhere. Mr. Taz says Tyler and Jackson the only option for New York. All the quarterbacks have too much melatonin. Oh my goodness gracious. Mr. Taz says, can't have a black guy becoming Eli Manning. You're not wrong. Go. Let's see here. We all love Mr. Taz. Mr. Taz, don't forget Colin McCord. The fans love him too. I had an Eagle content creator reach out to me on Twitter the other day. And I usually don't do collaborations because I hate everybody. That's just me. Not a grumpy old man. I just hate everybody. But I literally said he could come on. I don't know why. James, a serious question. What team has done more losing the last 2 years than pick a defensive back at 3 to save the franchise? Big James. Oh, Big Tim Indianapolis already knows they got a dime with a hole in it. MJ says the argument that isn't Sanders will be the bust and the other guys are the sure thing. You have to take the value spot. I haven't heard anyone said that the second tier player at 3 or a top. To me, you're right. Okay, you want to say you need to take a value spot. How is Abdul Carter a value spot? When you have Kayvon Thibodeau, and then you also have Brian Burns, and you also picked up what's name Ferguson from Dallas. How's that? And he's not really an off the ball linebacker. And to OGR's point, Parsons his first season had 85 tackles and only started 1 game in his freshman year. And they thought so much of Abdul Carter after they lost 2 guys to the draft last year. Penn State moved him to the defensive end position to take advantage of his speed against slower tackles. Matthews says, we're Giant fans. We can't have nice things. I hate being negative, but I feel like it's realistic to expect them to do the wrong thing. MJ says, why is the whole show so negative? Also set up these everyone should such and such situation. Straw man everywhere. Ooh, MJ, you are so wise.
Get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
MJ's in timeout. MJ, go watch Chat Sports. Go watch Chad Sports. That's more your speed. Stupid does, Mrs. Blue. See, that's the sound effect I need to get. That's the sound effect I need to have when someone gets wonked as well. Because if people don't, and this is why I don't care about Giant fans anymore, in reference to them saying, well, it's negative. If negativity is pointing out the truth and the honesty, then call me negative. Said it before. Call me bougie.
Get your hands off me, Maria. Nobody call me bougie. Maria, what is bougie?
It means you think you're better than other people.
What in the hell? Bougie is charged.
So bougie is charged. Hit the like button. Let's get to 50 likes because I got to get out of here soon. Because I got a lot of stuff to do before the Knicks. The Giant fans who can't have nice things. Oh, we got the negativity. Mr. Alvarez says, funny the trading. Funny thing is thinking trading came on Thibodeau because he's the reason why Holland came here in the first place. So if the Giants leave, Holland will probably leave when his contract is over too. I think Will Johnson, the corner for Michigan, will climb the top 10 if he talks about the injuries. Shipley Jr. I think Will Johnson is not a top 10 player. But I do think he's going to get taken in the top 10. The cornerback, that is. Mr. Robert says, what should be positive about? Colt Steve is the only reason why the Giants aren't the worst team. Bad GMing, coaching for the last decade. What else do we have? We have blind faith has gotten them. That's the thing. Giant fans want to have blind. If you want to have blind faith, that's fine. I don't care. Because most of these people are kids and they're like, we have to have blind faith in this organization because it's just like Madden. I can rebuild this team because it's Madden. Let me see. Pat Trainer says Shane in the front office wants Sanders, but the coaches aren't in favor of it. If that's the if it's Shane's that wants Sanders, it's Shirley the pick. Shirley, you can't be serious. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. Oh my God, I hope so. She hasn't. Of course, Patricia hasn't been right about anything since she's been writing for the Giants. So why should hopefully she doesn't break her streak. Why would the Joe Schoen sign 3 quarterbacks if he drafts quarterback asking for a friend? Because here's my philosophy. You could cut one of these quarterbacks if you want to. Wilson is the only here for a year, a long-term solution. I agree with that too. Sanders. To me, like I said, to me, Sanders makes sense, but the Giants don't do shit that makes sense. Dennis says too many people need their dose of hopium. Just go over to Chat Sports. Go get all your hopium you need. Get all your stupid rhetoric that doesn't make sense and your clickbait, and then get some nonsensical shit that doesn't mean anything about football. But I'm sorry, that's not what we do here. Logic's fine. It says, when blind hope fans hear the truth and facts, they never call it negative. But the same fans never admit the truth, even when a player flames out and does nothing. Funny how that. I love the Daniel Jones thing. For 5 years, we did a video the day after Daniel Jones' rookie season. And we pointed out all these things that Daniel Jones would need to improve on to become a good quarterback, not to become a one-season wonder. I went back and watched it. And we talked about the pocket awareness, the pocket presence, the ability to sense the rush, how he was going to get killed if he didn't get some type of football feel for being in the pocket, that running is not always the first option, that he had to have more of an ability to read the field instead of doing what Shermer did, was cut the field in half and give him 2 options and tell him to throw to a spot, that he was going to need to develop as a quarterback and not a runner. And we went through all this. You're just a hater. You just hate. And then all these people, after 3,000 yards and 15 touchdowns, was this phenomenal season, which is basically a good season if you're a rookie. And the contract, they were still holding out hope. Had that hopium. This guy's going to be a quarterback. We kept saying the same thing. You go 7-2, then you go 2-5-1. And a lot of those games you shouldn't have won that season, which that hopium destroyed us by giving. And I said the moment the ink dried on that contract, that contract was going to set the Giants back 5 years. From the moment that ink dried, not from the moment that Daniel Jones left, but the moment the ink dried on the deal, that was the clock for 5 years of disaster. Still, they all had hope. And then when Daniel Jones gets cut, all these people that were kneeling at the altar of Daniel Jones for 5-6 years, all of a sudden were against him. All of a sudden we're like, well, I never really thought he was that good of a quarterback. And then we go through a season where we end up with Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, and you could potentially have a chance to take a game-changing, franchise-altering quarterback at 3 if he's there, and some people just don't want to do it. And a lot of them are the same people that were on the Daniel Jones train. So you're sitting there. They don't want to take this guy at 3. I don't know why, because he only made Jackson State a better team, and he only got Colorado out of the doldrums. And he's only improved every year he's played football. And somehow everyone else at 3 is the best pick ever, and this guy is a bust. That's Giant fans. And I love it because we didn't used to be this way. Like I said, I go back to watching Giants in 76. I was there when they opened up the Meadowlands in that debacle, that Craig Morton debacle against Dallas. I was there through the Andy Robustella years. I was there before we finally got George Young. I was there when we had such bad teams that in the 70s and parts of the 80s outside of 81, and then, of course, the start of the advent of 84, which was the turnaround with Bill Parcells. But we always had a collective togetherness. And maybe it's social media, maybe it's everyone has an opportunity to have an opinion, but you went to the stadium, you had a collective togetherness. We were all in this shit together. Good, bad, or indifferent. No, I did not see Norm Snead play. Didn't see Norm Snead play. But we had this collectiveness. We had this ability to rally together, especially in the Meadowlands. I hate MetLife. I think Meadowlands was a dump. Shea Stadium was a dump. Concrete dumps built in. One was built in the mid 70s. The other one was built in the 60s in Shea. But there was a home field advantage. I still don't think we have a home field advantage. City Field, you're getting more of a home field advantage. But in the Meadowlands, we don't have a home field advantage. It's this sterile place that looks like the grill of a GMC terrain. And there's nothing to rally around. And then the fan base, even in the stadium, is so divided that you could see why Giant fans were voted numerous times the dumbest fan base, the most unintelligent fan base, and when it comes to football. You could see it. Because you have an opportunity, if he's there at 3, I don't care if he's black. I don't care if he's Jewish. I don't care if he's a Martian. I don't care. I don't care where he's from. That you could take a game-changing, franchise-altering quarterback at 3, and you don't swing. You don't take your shot. But you could sit there for 6 years, 7 years. 6 years and kneel at the 7 years and kneel at the altar of Daniel Jones. And when he gave you nothing, and we had to hear forever, well, we have to build weapons. We tried to build a franchise around this guy for 6 years. 24-44-1. 24-44-1. 3-9, 5-9, 4-7, 6-9-1, 1-5, 2-8. His last 2 years with the Giants, 3-13. Last 16 games. But we don't want to take Sanders because Sanders came out and said that he is a franchise-altering quarterback. And we think that's cocky. Mr. Alvarez says, never forget Jones' rookie season, 24 passes, great 2020, 22 total touchdowns. People saw 22 touchdowns when Lamar Jackson was a free agent. Yeah, we would take. You could have had Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, people forget. You had the ability to get Lamar. Anyone in the league had the ability to get Lamar Jackson. And you weren't going to have to give up an arm and a leg to get him. You could sign him. The way he was tenured with his franchise tag. Mr. Logic's all Sanders hate has done nothing to do with him. It's all about Deion Sanders hate because of projecting this team. Haters see his son's success as the win for Deion. They hate Deion that much. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they do. Petros says, when the team is as a whole isn't together, you can't expect the fan base to come together. Sounds like some people in the Giants building don't like Joe. Look at Wink, the OC, and we need to start over again. Petros says, let Brandon Brown be the GM. I think he will do much better on this team as just as well. Davey says, maybe the thing Sanders can't beat out Tommy DeVito. Logic also says, most of those touchdowns came in 4 games. That's the other thing people don't get. A lot of those 24 touchdowns came in 4 games. One of them was the last game of the season. Petro says, even Dable doesn't like Joe. When he had the press conference about having a decent quarterback play, there was a shot at Joe, not John Mara. It was overlooked. You're in lockstep, my ass. You're right. Big Greg says, big difference between the confidence and cockiness. Yeah, there is. I think you're 100% right. Joe runs a dictatorship, and he's not good at that one for sure. Most dictators aren't good. most dictators are bad. 100% Greg, 100% logic. All right, it's 12:31. We're going to cut it short today because I got a lot of stuff to do before the Knicks. I will be at the draft. I will be at MetLife, going there with Big L, Swing Culture, and a couple other people. So it's gonna be a fun night. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you come in for the draft party because I will be calling the draft live from the stadium as we've done the last 3 years. If anyone cares, only giant content creator goes out to the stadium and does these things. But whatever, whatever. Somehow I'm the asshole. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Big Dom is gonna be running the show. Are we in trouble in 2025? Yeah, we're in trouble. Yeah, we are in trouble. Big Dom, of course, will be running the show with James Williams and a few other guests, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So I hope everyone had themselves a good and safe holiday. This is Tim, this is your Giant Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. I want to thank everyone for coming in and coming by. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And as always, this is Tim, this is your Giant Straight Talk, and I'm out of here. Peace.